So I'm from Spillmagasinet, Norway, freelance. So it will be fast. I won't take much of the time.
No problem.
Yeah. So I read a little bit about you in the folder we got. I didn't know you guys at all. So I see you have some interesting backgrounds. Is it okay to ask about this?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And how about to start with you, Ben? You've been driving like this Stig figure.
Mm-hmm.
How was this to work to put it into the game? Has it given anything to this new game, to Project Cars 2, like the experience you had as?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the great thing with the Top Gear job was the range of vehicles, from everything from a Clio or VW Polo to a McLaren or supercar Ferrari, whatever it was. Got to drive everything really. So I was very spoiled, but it was an incredible experience to get and to get used to these cars very quickly. So my job was within minutes of meeting a new car to be able to put it on the limit and drag out performance from it. So all those memories were, those experiences were always you really get into a car at the time, you kind of never forget it. And so to go through that again, basically with Project Cars, and be able to replicate that so that everybody could go and share it online or on their Xbox, PlayStation, whatever format it was, that was really cool. And to try and make the simulation as close as possible to reality, that's always the goal. And every year we try and find a new way to bring it ever closer, and with the graphics and things like the headgears now. I mean, it's just mind blowing how close it is.
All right, cool. And with the driving you did, like all range of cars, how has this been incorporated to Project Cars 2? Like your experience with what can I say? The fastest cars, the heaviest machines. Is it? How can I ask this? Have you had any input to how these cars are working in the game?
Yeah, that's the whole point for us being here. Basically, it's a case of obviously the engineers, the programmers, the software developers, they're all working very hard to create a tyre model that is accurate across a range of different cars, so that each one has got its own level of grip, its own amount of power, its own aesthetic, so that it looks accurate, and then obviously in these worlds, these landscapes, these tracks, that it behaves in the way that it would in real life. And our role really is to impart as much as possible to fine-tune that machine so that it really does reflect reality. What I was saying before, there's the simple stuff like power to weight ratio. Does it feel right, or has it got too much power? Has it got too much grip? Is it too difficult to drive? Is it too easy to drive? Can you feel the weight squirming around on the car the way you would? A Porsche has its rear engine. You really feel that, versus a Ferrari that's mid-engine. They handle it in completely different ways. So we try to make sure that that's our entire role, is to bring the science as close to reality as we can through real experience. So it's great, you get the facts and figures right, you produce something that should be perfect on paper, and then we try to use experience and our world of common sense in a way to make it fit reality.
Yeah. All right. But now Ben been talking a little bit how he put the experience into the game. Can you explain a little bit how a day of race driver is? How are you working with the team to get these things into the game?
Yeah, I mean, so pretty much we get told what cars we're going to be driving. Probably on 1 week. So we'll get in touch and say, right, what do we need to focus on this week? What cars do we need to get behind and really put into a good testing program? So we'll get told a load of tyres to go with that car to then work on and develop. So in everybody else has their own way of working. The way I work is to put myself in that program, for a good couple of hours, and really put the car through its paces, put it on its limit, and really start learning what the tyre's starting to do, what the car's starting to do, and then how we can improve it. There's always improvements that we can make, so it doesn't matter how much it feels. If it feels great to start with, there's always little bits and bobs that you can pick from the tyre. so during that tyre development process, you know, it's all about trial and error. So you go one way in one direction, maybe giving it a bit more turn-in, a bit more rear stability, and then once that change has been made, it might have been the wrong direction, so then you revert back to the previous setup, and then just keep going until you find the right balance. And as I said, it's not just me going through that phase and that process. We have a lot of drivers. You know, there's pretty much 7 of us that do that as much as we can. So yeah, it's a very vigorous testing program that I put myself through, because that's what I'm here for, and it's all about trying to maximise the opportunity and get the best feedback we can for the developers, so that we can put it into the game and make it as realistic as possible.
Right, but you mentioned the tires, and you're trying different sets. You said,
yeah.
What kind of different sets? Now, let's talk about if you talk about asphalt, like driving on asphalt. What kind of different sets? It is soft, hard, compound.
Yeah.
How does this work? Like for you?
Yeah. So we to start with, we worked on. We didn't really have soft or medium or hard compounds. We basically had tyre A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it was all about trying to take tyre A, trying to feel how that was. You know, maybe it was really good on the front end or under braking, but rear stability wasn't great, traction wasn't great. Maybe tyre B, traction's better, but the front tyre isn't working as well. You know, tyre C might have the middle of both of them, and then basically you got to take all of the tyres that you've been given from A to G and try and make your own tyre out of all of them. So you might say one characteristic of tyre A is really good, but the characteristic in tyre B isn't as good, so we'll scrap that and we'll work from tyre A to tyre D, and then create your own one together. That's pretty much what I spent most of my time doing. And then it's all about putting them into compounds and then replicating a hard compound, a soft top compound, and a medium compound. Because if we didn't have that foundation of creating a good tyre to work from, then we wouldn't be able to replicate a hard compound or a medium compound. So it was all about, to start with, getting the tyre model realistic with a good base foundation before you then start improving it into different areas.
It's a bit like trying the difference between a Coca-Cola and a Pepsi.
Yeah.
So if you can, some people can't tell the difference. Our job is to tell the difference and explain why one is better than the other in every, you know, and break it down and take the best parts and then build on. So there's always, and like Nick says, there's a huge range. And sometimes you get to, and my favourite thing is not to really know, you know, you'll do some feedback and say these two tyres feel really similar, and the answer comes back through the forum. Yeah, that's because it's the same tyre. Yeah. So you never quite know the full picture, and that's how they want it. You know, it's like the Princess and the Pea or the Coke Challenge, whatever. Yeah. You've got to try and pick out the nuance, and yeah.
And a lot of the time they don't tell us the differences in the tyre. We have to feel them.
You have to feel the tyres. Yeah, right.
So they basically just don't tell us anything really, and then we have to learn. Because that makes our feedback more natural.
So it's this feedback and this information they're putting into the game, like the blind tests, like you do, like this. Okay, that's cool. And how about now I tried the game a little bit in here, and I see the weather in the game. Like you drivers, how have you put anything to the game at all when it comes to weather and how it affects the racetrack and the cars?
Yeah, I mean definitely. So. Visually, I mean, the weather is unbelievably good. I think one of the early things that blew me away was the sun. What's it called when you get those spots?
Well, the glare.
The glare in the window.
And the flare and glare through the windscreen, stuff like that, which is all real, and sometimes it's hard to see because that's exactly what it's like in real life. I've had a teammate went out on an oval for qualifying and drove straight into the wall at 170 because he couldn't see anything. So these are real things you think about. The rain and other conditions, it's all, you know, in terms of the visual aspects are absolutely incredible, and in fact rain is something that I've been particularly focused on. I love driving in the rain, and I've done it because racing in Britain for many years, whether you like rain or not, you're going to be racing in it, and places like Le Mans it gets torrential, and at Spa as well. you race to the point that the race is stopped, which is rare. They'll normally just keep you going, even if you're aquaplaning from 20 miles an hour up to 150 miles an hour. You have to get on with those things like aquaplane, and aquaplane in a racing car is the most extreme type of driving that you'll have to deal with. So it's also one of the things we're very keen to replicate in the game. And then now, of course, we've got loose surfaces: snow, ice, gravel, mud, the whole gambit. And that, for me, I've done small amounts of rallying, but a lot of stunt driving work that's involved sliding around doing this sort of stuff. And it's great to finally find a useful outlet beyond the movies. It's great to be able to see the whole world of extreme driving and competition driving come through in Project Cars 2.
Wow, yeah, this is great. And but the work you do with weather when you tell the team how the weather should be in the game, how is this working when you work with the team?
It's pretty much the same in terms of how we work. I mean, our main job was we're on board for physics, but because we are, especially myself and definitely Ben, we're perfectionists. As racing drivers, you always want to be the best and try and do the best job you can, and so that means we're looking at everything. So it doesn't mean it's going to be weather. It can be from physics to the little blades of grass that are on the side of the circuit, to the curbs, to the graphics, to everything, because it's about making the full product. And the more feedback you can get from people that know how the weather is or how different things are on a real racing circuit, then the better it is for them. So, to be honest, if I was going to be really, really honest, I don't think Cycling might have struggled at all in terms of needing feedback when it comes to weather. They got everything pretty much spot on straight away. With the fog and the rain and how it affects the windscreen, or it affects your field of view, or everything. We haven't actually been quite far away at all on the weather side of things. So I try and sort of sit back in that way. But if I find there's always something that we need to improve on, then I always say, and I always mention it. And but most of the time, when it comes to weather and graphics, the guys have got it pretty much solid and sorted out. So yeah, I mean, it's very rare that I would say the rain is affecting the car in the wrong way, or in terms of visuals. So that's something I probably wouldn't have to comment on that much, because the graphics in the game, especially in the snow at the moment, when you get a load of snow coming to the windscreen and a bit of mist and a bit of fog at the same time, those guys, they didn't need me to tell them how to do that. They did that themselves.
They had the physics pretty good already.
Yeah.
But was there any times that you had to say to a team that, okay, this doesn't look good. It actually looks like this when we're driving.
Definitely.
Yeah, you had to do that. Yeah.
There's some little things. I mean, we're looking at snow last night, and we're going to speed up the particles when you go faster, because the snow was falling in a steady state, and we're still early stages, and we were looking at it, and it just dawned on us, actually, yeah, we saw the vortexes of snow coming off the other cars and thought, oh, that's great. Rod was sitting up with us and noticing these things and thinking, and then I thought, actually, yeah, it's sometimes because everything is a whiteout, it's hard to sense the speed, and maybe we can use of course we should be using the flakes to show that. So that will all be within a month. That will be in the game before it's launched, obviously. So
that was just yesterday. Something that's come.
Yeah. It's all these things, particularly the stuff that we're doing on a regular. I would know instinctively, Nick would as well. The visual references, but to be fair, the snow is something we've been doing later on in the development side of it. So it's natural that those things are going to be still progressing. But the biggest thing we're there for is the sensation. So what does it feel like at the steering wheel in the rain and on the snow, and what feedback should we be getting from the tyre? So that's definitely something that we're really on the case with, and it's also the hardest part to get right, because it's very, particularly in the rain and on the snow, it's a very extreme environment. It's very different to what you feel most days on the way to work or racing or whatever.
All right.
Sorry, last question.
Yeah,
okay.
That was. I'm going to ask you one last thing. As race drivers in this project, what have been your personal biggest challenge?
In terms of the development of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always done. I'd probably say my biggest challenge is probably adapting to. I was a sim gamer before I was a racing driver, so simulation gaming wasn't difficult for me to adapt to. I think adapting to slightly matched studios and how they work, probably would say was the biggest task for me, because everything that we do is over a forum. Everything that we do in terms of our feedback and explaining things is all through writing. So as a racing driver, you're used to explaining things verbally. So talking to your engineers and actually being with them in person and saying, right, the car didn't feel good in this way because of this, and you would be able to actually show them or draw a diagram or something. But when it comes to explaining things in writing, so that other people can understand it that might not know exactly what you're talking about and your experiences, that was always quite difficult, because with writing, everything can be misinterpreted as well. So you don't want to turn around and say the car feels terrible and they get upset about it. Because really what you're trying to do is just put your passion into it and really explain, the best bits about it, the worst bits about it, and to put that all in writing. I'd probably say that was my hardest and most difficult task to do. But having been with Slack Knife Studios for the last 5 years now, I'm used to it. They're sort of used to how I write and what I say. And so we have a very good relationship and collaboration in that way, so it's no longer that difficult.
All right. Yeah.
I was going to say exactly the same thing, because you come into the pits with a hot car straight away. Normally in real life they stick a telemetry in, they download data. It's a real thing. They're getting brake temperatures, tyres, the whole thing, and it's sitting in front of both of you and the engineer, and you look through the door and he's sitting there and you're using your hands and it's in your face. You're talking about specific corners that you've just taken, and the tyres are, they can read through the range temps exactly what's going on. They can see how the tyre's performing. If it's too hot on the outside edge, they can look at cambers and all these things. And so it's not just the driver that's talking to the engineer. The whole car is giving feedback. We're talking about something where we're communicating via a forum about something that doesn't actually exist. So it does, and the tyre model is there, and it's in front of the physics engineer who's staring at the data that he's got, interpreting. So obviously he has got a reference there of an understanding of what he's made, and you're giving the, like Nick says, the feedback on that to make it something else. But it's very different doing it through a forum, and you're making sure. And did this point get, unless you're looking through eye to eye, did you get the main point? The most important bit was this paragraph, and they may have put stress on something else. So fortunately, we do occasionally get together. And times like this when we've got the chair next door. I'm in the same room as Nick, which you in a racing team, we'd be sitting next to the whole time, having a coffee, complaining about something in one corner and saying how good we are in another one. When we all get together, it's fantastic, because we're all bursting with information and we share it. So I think we're going to try and do more of it this year, especially as we come to the final stages, to really, because like Nick says, we're passionate to make this thing what it deserves to be, which is the ultimate, driving sim.
All right.
Sorry, guys, we have to stop.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Thank you very much for the patience.
Thanks.
This was a little bit over time.
No problem.